Yes, this is the Blackberry Medicine Bag Show, and I'm your host, C. Walker. Prepare for entertainment, informative, and the historic aspect in modern times. Ready? The host, Blackberry Medicine Bag, into the room. Hello, everybody. Dousi Natane, Siyo, Sitonela, Yontarasa. What's up, family? Today I have some deep, interesting, informative information. With no further ado, let's jump into our trending topics. Vast forests, desert land, and even a volcano are among landscapes included in what is now the largest corridor of protection land in the United States, which will protect numerous rare and threatened plants and animal species that live within the region. The Biden administration announced on Tuesday the designation of two new monuments which inhabits the largest tract of protected land in the continental U.S., which is the Robert Nobbs UCG Universal Image, um, also the Towers National Park, Moab, Utah, and some other ones. Um, President Biden, Joe Biden, uses authority under the Acquisition Act to protect nearly 850,000 acres from drilling of fossil fuel and mining, according to the Department of Interior and Agriculture. The new monuments will help protect clean water for communities, honor areas of cultural significance to indigenous nations, enhance access to natural nature, according to the White House. So I think this is one of the best things that Joe Biden could have done as he left office was protect both the animals and water for the indigenous nations. The water is also good for agriculture at the times that indigenous nations will use. Because a lot of times, like in the Southwest and up on the Northwest coast going to Alaska, there is different types of harmful type of resources, oil, fossil fuel, lithium, uranium, these different reservations that harm the health of indigenous people. And by him putting protections that can't come and destroy this land, preserved for native people, that will talk about how they get back to healing themselves. One of the ways that you heal yourselves, that I've even learned, is that you work in nature. You get back to what your ancestors do. You go to the land for healing, and it will heal you. All right, let's jump into our next trending topic. Directing plans for recognition of the largest tribe east of Mississippi River. Today, President Donald Trump signed a presidential memorandum to the Secretary of Interior to make full recognition of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. The memorandum established that it is the policy of the United States to support federally recognized and full tribal benefits for the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. It directs the Secretary of Interior to submit a plan to the Lumbee in obtaining full recognition, full federal recognition, legislation, or availability mechanisms, including the right to receive full recognition full benefits. Full federal recognition is long overdue. The Lumbees have had a long recognition at the state and federal level, but further federal actions is required for the full recognition and accomplishing the benefits and protection. The Lumbee, the state of North Carolina, recognizes the Lumbee tribe in 1885 and 1956. And I will put more about that inside of the show if you guys want to read the whole thing about how they have taken steps in order to recognize the Lumbee. And just extra information, the Lumbee at one time about Tuscarora, Cherawa, and the Cherokees of Robinson County, basically. So they have many names and may have had many different nations come mix with them. So that's one of the issues. One of my friends who is the Eastern Band Cherokees told me they don't have um, written language per se because they don't have a written language or a spoken language. That's what made it hard for them to obtain this. So maybe now help since they help get him that vote in North Carolina. Hopefully, with these steps, he's ordering the Department of Interior to make everything access so that they can get full recognition. Looks like they're on their way this time. And nobody's going to come in between them when they got that federal order. I'd be wrong if anybody has anything else, but it sounds like he's telling the Department of Interior that, hey, you guys gotta help them. That's what I want them to do. And usually when the president signs that into effect, it's usually honored, no questions asked. It just goes down because the president of the United States wants, and I think he does have a lot of say so to the Department of Interior because I think that's one of that he's over. I'd be wrong, but I know that this is one of the ways that they do use federal recognition. Excuse me. Um, back to what I was saying. Give me a few seconds while I get the next topic that I will read about the black bear medicine. That's why you guys really come to the black bear medicine. I only have one that I will be pulling out, one herb. Give me 1 second to enjoy this beautiful music from Tony Duncan. I'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, that was Tony Duncan, Eagle Dances. color show. If you're interested in that, that's what you could look it up and it will take you there. Now it's time for the black bear medicine bags herb, and this is the only plant that I will be pulling out of the medicine bag. We'll be talking about a historic issue that will affects every native nation to this day. Hibiscus is what's the name of the plant. And I was actually at the doctor's office today. And when I was in the doctor's office, I tell them that I use medicinal plants sometimes when I'm sick to help me through sickness. I was saying pine needle. I didn't know that hibiscus was native to Americas till I looked it up. So let's just jump into it and find out about this hibiscus plant. Hibiscus plant has been used for medical purposes for centuries. Indigenous tribes in North America have used various types of hibiscus to treat various ailments. Hibiscus cultius digestive. The Creek and the Seminole tribes used a dectonic of the root to treat stomach and discomfort and dysentery. Respiratory health. The root was used to treat coughs, colds, and bronchitis congestion. Skin health. The root was applied typically as a poultice to treat wounds, sores, insect bites, anxiety, and nervousness. The root was used as a common agent. Hibiscus mosaitus, bladder infections. The Shinnecock tribe used dried swamp rose mallow stems to treat bladder infections, inflammation, and irritation. Settlers used swamp rose mallow to relieve inflammation and irritation externally. Hibiscus sabdorifi, diuretic, used as a diuretic in folks medicine. Mild laxative, used as a mild laxative in folks medicine. Cardio and nerve disease, used to treat cardio and nerve disease in folks medicine. All right, this is just one herb that you could use. The hibiscus plant is a flower. You could find that on the Black Bear Medicine Bag page. Give me another 2 minutes and I'll get right back to you as we enjoy some more indigenous music. Give me a second. One second, y'all. Sorry about that. Whoa. All right, we're back. We're back. Tonight's topic we will be talking about is Kill the Indian, Save the Man. Was residential schools and boarding schools the way in order to teach and grow Native nations? Did it play a great effect or a minor effect? Is it still affecting indigenous people to this day, or is it something of the past? Should we still use these methods of education, or should we throw them and try something new? All this and more on the Black Bear Medicine Bag. Ever since Europeans have arrived, they always wanted to teach something. They started with their religious schools, the Spanish missions, the different missionaries, for the Catholics to the Protestants to the Baptists, all in indigenous nations. They would round up our young and they would take them and train them when they were very young. As time went on, the forced removal onto the reservation by the Das Commission Act of 1887 forced the ideal of to kill the native or kill the Indians, take the man when everybody was on reservations. Native children often were proud of their hair and of their culture and of their language. This gave them identity. But when you take these things away, you do what's called ethnic and cultural genocide. They wanted to break down the spirit of the native people, and they almost happened, but they persevered. One of the things that they took away, they broke up the family structure. The mother, the father, the child, the aunties, the uncles, the grandfather, the grandmother's teachings. Each in our societies, each of these people played an important role in teaching the child how to build a community. What's his role? What's her role? What's the role ultimately? How to work together as a society. Even to this day, we're still trying to figure out how can we exist as indigenous people that are left. Do we follow the Christian way? Do we follow the indigenous way? What's left? One of the notorious schools that we will talk about tonight is the Haskell Indian School in the New Carlisle. It was located in Pennsylvania. It was New Carlisle, which was a former military fort and later transformed to a school. And we will talk about Haskell Indian Industrial Training School. Let's first, one of the concepts that they would teach throughout the religious schools was about hell. And just imagine a young child who doesn't come from that type of background or anything malice about any type of deity, any type of God. Then you're teaching a child, if you do not worship and be baptized and accept Christ, you'll burn for eternity. You know, I always grew up that once you die, that's it. You're done. I always learned that, you know, the creator doesn't want to hurt you forever. But a lot of other religious Christian faiths teach that hell's eternal and not that was symbolic. They use the Bible to put a lot of fear. So imagine the psychological trauma that they put upon indigenous people, men, women, and especially the children. And they will isolate the children on purpose so that they can have full control over the children's minds and hearts. And not only mentally, they abuse them sexually and physically. Strong abuse was endured. Some native children could not endure this. Some ran away, and when they ran away, it was in winter times, and some children died or were found unalive. Other children lost limbs. Um, some native children just gave up and just died from a broken heart or from the abuse, either of not being fed properly, of not being cared properly, or just died of a broken heart. One person I want to talk about is Manuelito. One of his sons, well, two of his sons, along with other Dene or Navajo children, were taken to the New Carlisle, which is far from Arizona. It's further away than Haskell in Kansas. It's on the other side. It's even past Indiana. Probably very cold place. Anyway, one of his sons went there and died. And then so when he found that out, he called for his other child to come back home and all the other Danette children to come back home, which is understandable. What's the point of sending your children away to die in a place that you can't even bury them, that you can't even say your goodbyes to? It's the sad thing to see your children, or whole groups of people that you're sending away to have a better life according to this new type of administration, and you agree, hey, you'll stop farming the old way and pick up the European way of farming, and you'll stop hunting and only hunt with a pass. You couldn't do nothing traditional. That's why I think a lot of indigenous people live so far away so they wouldn't be disturbed. They hid further up in the mountains. I heard sometimes when they would come and round up native children was they would hide away so they could keep their traditional ways alive, and they could just be free and not harassed and follow certain government standards. Oh, excuse me. Ooh. Now a lot of native children who survived would join the military and fight in World War One, World War Two, the Korean War, the Vietnam War. But one of the things that came out of the Indian school was some the code talkers who talked their Dene and Lakota, Anias, Ani, Salagi, Cherokee. Um, they also spoke Inde, Apache, and many other native languages in between World War I and II. They learned some of these military drills and toughness, getting beat every day for not speaking their language, and then they're able to speak their language and actually save the United States. That's very interesting that they would do that. The country didn't show them no love before and after. And even in fact, the same thing that is going on today, the Dene and other native nations being detained and questioned by ICE agency was still going on during World War II, where it's the same again through a nigga, the white people, the white man is going around. Very scary. Um, Question people about their status as far as, are you a U.S. citizen? Even if they say yes, Native American, then they gotta prove it with a certificate, Indian blood, and driver's license and whatnot, and tribal ID to prove that's who they are. Even some of my Mexican American family was indigenous. They come from the Yaquis and Apaches. Even them, I found out from my aunt recently that they were harassed by ICE and pulled over. I didn't know, like, these things happen, personally in my time too, just like a long time ago. A lot of times we don't know about these things unless our people talk to our people and find out. I think it's very important. We find these things out and we talk about them and deal with them. Because what happened for the trauma of the boarding schools was that a lot of people started to pick up abusiveness. A lot of sexual abuse went back to reservations, alcoholism, drug addiction, because we were still trying and still trying to deal with trauma that came, the shame that came from being indigenous, because they killed the Indian. We weren't happy being Indian no more. I remember my great grandmother who was Yaqui, but didn't roll. She didn't want to be Indian. And now I understand from the boarding schools, they killed a lot of people being proud to be an Indian, to be the first people to have a language and a way of songs and understand the environment like nobody else. And yet you're ashamed. You have to hide who you are to survive, to get a job, to do anything. Now it's easy, and everybody respects Native people to the extent, but back then they didn't. And there are many Native people who are still don't talk about it, don't want nothing to do with it, don't want to talk the language anymore because of the shame and the guilt. Let's go back. There was actually 27 federally funded schools, and 6,000 Native children went there. But because of the harsh treatment, a lot of them were buried in unmarked graves. And at that high school, they often say spirits or demons run around there to remind them of what's the wrong thing that was done. This chapter kind of stopped in 1968 was Indian Civil Rights Act, and then in 1975, well, the cover that 1969 they had to fight for a government, self-rule, self-determination. They couldn't make any laws that would go against the United States, of course. They had to stay within them, or else they go on a federal level to challenge. All right, self-determined as in 1975, the Self-Determined and Education Act. That's when they were able to take hold of their education and get their children back from the the practice of boarding schools. But the actual last boarding school was ran in like 1991, I think. I think it was in Phoenix, Arizona, if I'm not wrong, Indian school. Everything went back to the reservation, basically. What can we learn from the boarding schools? We can learn that it was a horrible experience and that I personally could never send my children away. Because when you separate children, you separate how you want them to be raised, your values of what you want them to believe in. Whatever creator, you should never send your children off that young. The people that you don't know, that I wouldn't trust. And even they were away from regular society. So they had their vices too. Another thing we learn is that alcoholism is sexual abuse and abuse, physical abuse came from that led on the reservations that we see today. If you need mental help, get it. Um, Also, a lot of get into your culture, because if you get into your culture, it's a way of healing. How should these things happen? We have to keep going forward, acknowledging that it hurts. It hurts to see all of them children and see them graves, but to know those graves tell a story, and we have to keep telling these children's story. We can't forget about these stories, because these people are lives, and these were important at one point and still are. I mean, and then have a solution. I think, like I said before in the beginning, once you get out of nature and you start to try to learn the language and you try to go back to the old ways of learning what you can and then building from there and trying to do better and not repeat the same mistakes and remind us, the Europeans, that hey, you guys were once robbers and thieves and undesirables, and that just because your government makes a law to say it's illegal to come to this country, it's not. You guys weren't illegal. You guys come here. So what gives you a right to call anybody else illegal? How you can call anything illegal when you guys stole the land? Remember that, you know, we exist, we resist, we won. They could never break our spirits if we don't let them. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to all my past people that was on the Black Bear Medicine Bag. Thank you to future people interested. I want to thank all my family and friends who pushed me to do this show. Sometimes I don't want to do it, but I do it anyway because no, I have to talk about these things that a lot of people don't have knowledge about or don't want to talk about, but I need to talk about these things. I want to give people advice. If you're ever unhappy or wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, you don't have to do it. Every day is a new day. You can change wherever you're at and whatever you do. I want to say, Wado, thank you. Until we meet again. Thank you for watching the Black Bear Medicine Bag.